This is The Metro. I'm Tia Graham. Now we tune our ears to learn a little more about how Black Bottom Archives isn't just remembering history, it's reclaiming it. The preservation of history doesn't belong only to institutions. It lives in the hands, the voices, and memories of everyday people. In Detroit, a new generation of community historians is stepping forward. Through oral histories, archival research, and creative storytelling, fellows through the Preserving Black Legacy Fellowship are building living records of Detroit's footprint. The fellowship is a year-long program that trains Black Detroiters to document, preserve, and share the stories rooted in their own neighborhoods. That work will come together in a public exhibition and a citywide festival in 2026 celebrating Black Detroit history. Lex Draper Garcia Babe is the co-executive director for Black Bottom Archives and reminds us that she's not a trained archivist. She's doing it for the culture. I spoke to Lex about the upcoming festival, and we began the conversation talking about the exhibition From the Bottom Up. Presented by Black Bottom Archives, of course. It is on display at Detroit Historical Society through April 5th, and it's guided by the principle of Sankofa. Go back and get it.
I just this morning listened to an interview of Ryan Coogler talking about his, like, how everybody was baking in the pandemic and then he never stopped baking. And so he's still like building up and doing more intricate things. And he was talking about the nuances of baking a croissant, right? So like a croissant is delicious. As a consumer of baked goods,
It's amazing.
they're delicious, right? But they're very intricate. They're flaky. They're like layers. And so I think with the analogy he was saying about centers is the same thing that I would apply to the exhibit, is that the Black Bottom Street View, which is a view of if you were walking through Black Bottom, but so there's pictures that are stitched together to make it seem like you're walking down the street blocks. If that's what you want and want to experience, it's a beautiful showing. It is passionate. It is emotional. But for the people who want more pieces of it, like people who want more layers, we have oral histories that are in the exhibit. We have a map. We have an interactive porch where you can sit on the porch, stand on the porch, where, you know, that's where our people tell our stories, right? And then there's like, it's a soundscape. We have a playlist that is taking our oral histories and fusing with like Detroit-based music and ghetto tech. And so like you've got something for everybody. And then there's a 53-foot wall where that's a timeline of like the Black housing, the history of Black housing in Detroit, which hits a lot of there's no way we could have on one wall covered everything. But we got as many of the big major points as possible to be able to give the viewers enough information for them to be able to draw their own conclusions about what happened with the housing market in Detroit over the past 100 years or so.
Yeah. I mean, every time I bring this conversation up or bring up Black Bottom or, 375, my dad always talks about how 96 was put in his neighborhood, his community. He didn't live there. His father was bought out and they had to move to a different part of Detroit, but his childhood home was destroyed by 96. And I just think like, that's my father's generation. That's our life.
My mother as well. That's her neighborhood. Same thing, 96.
Just so many things that happen throughout the city of Detroit, whether it is 96 or 375 or honestly the Lodge. So many freeways have cut through so many historic Black communities, and a lot of that's been lost, and a lot of the things that we were supposed to inherit also lost. So thinking about just that, of course, and I'm thinking about April 4th, the closing ceremony. Can you talk a little bit about that closing ceremony you all are having?
Absolutely. So we have had a really robust program season, and we've had a couple of panels, we've had some workshops, but we haven't been able to talk to our storytellers. And so that is something that's really important to us, is to give them opportunities for them to continue to share their stories. There's a woman, Miss Betty, she mentioned to us that we invited her to go to the Michigan History Center in Lansing, and she said that she felt like Harriet Tubman, like being able to share her story and her family story to give insight for somebody else, you know? And so, like, I'm tearing up because I remember that moment and what that meant for her. She's like 80-some years old, to be able to give somebody that kind of experience. And so it's one thing for people to be able to listen to our storytellers on our website, but it's one thing to hear from them in person.
So we have a clip of Miss Betty talking about needing to move to yet another home due to the construction of the Jeffrey freeways. This comes after 375 destroyed Black Bottom, displacing her family.
And you got to move again. And that's when we got on Short Monroe, where the graveyard is, and you right in front of the graveyard. Oh my Jesus. That was, I said, I got to get out of here. I said, if it ain't the freeways moving us, you looking at dead people being buried. And it's like, I said, man, wherever we move, it's freeways coming through. And the Jeffries, 453 Front Highway, they went all the way around everything else, but they took our house. I said, my God, Lord, what you trying to tell us? Don't live on the freeways. Don't live in the path of the freeways got to be built. And when I go down, hit that Jeffries, and I look, I said, I just still live right there, 453 Front Highway, between Bobian and Brush.
And so that's what we're inviting people to do, is just to come and listen to our storytellers and talk about what this exhibit means to them, what it means to honor their families' legacies, and just to acknowledge them. And then there's also going to be an opportunity for a community digitization workshop where if you're able to bring hard copies of paper documents, so photos, letters, postcards, all of our people got drawers of obituaries, like paper goods, right? Paper goods, to be able to digitize them so that they can have them for their family's legacy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, my mom just pulled out that package. She got a little package of obituaries.
Is it a Ziploc bag?
Yes. And it's all faded at this point, but
Yes.
she just pulls it out and
Yes.
says, let me see one. So I'm like, Mom, why do we have a collection of obituary? Well, we do.
It's our archive.
It is.
Those are your people.
So you just described Black Bottom Street View a little bit, and like the celebration, and how far back are we looking in terms of those hard copies that we're looking to digitize?
Anything of your own, anything that you have of your families. So we're just helping people to be able to digitize their records so that they can basically get a workshop of it and then be able to go home and duplicate that and replicate that at home. And then, so we're asking folks to only bring 3 to 5 items. Please don't bring everything of the everything. Please don't bring a milk crate of things. We can't do anything with that. However, we can bring 3 to 5 items so that we can show you how to do it. And then that way it's like a each one teach one situation. So you can take that home and build on that skill set.
How do archival materials such as digital maps or photos help bring that history to life in a new way?
It's just all storytelling. It is information. It is building the story and like giving it depth. Like you can tell a story of your family. You can tell a story of everybody that you know, but seeing it gives you more context, and I think that sometimes it like makes it, I'm a visual learner. And so like I can see it better. Like you could tell me all day long, Same. But like I need to be able to see it so that I can understand it. And so I think it helps give people like a center to be able to like focus and like root from.
Now, going back to Miss Betty really quickly, because for Miss Betty in her 80s, late 80s, to feel like that is needed, to have a elder going around telling these stories and making sure to preserve the history. When you heard Miss Betty say that and connect herself to Harriet Tubman's style of storytelling, what went through your mind?
Oh my God. It was like, what a privilege and honor it is that I get to do this work. To give an elder, like, so Miss Betty's seen a lot of stuff, to give her something that she can be proud of, give her something to be excited about. That just means so much. There's always moments that it's like I don't think we ever get the opportunity to forget why we're doing it, but it's always like it's really special to have those moments where it's like, this is it, like this moment right here. Like if nothing else happens, I got to experience it and hear it from her mouth. And like when she said that, we're like all on the panel, like everybody was like, I need some tissue, because it's just like, it means everything.
You're listening to The Metro on WDET. I'm Tia Graham. My guest is Lex Draper Garcia Bay, Co-Executive Director of Community Engagement and Programs for Black Bottom Archives. Now, turning the conversation to the Preserving Black Legacy Fellowship, it's putting archivists in the neighborhoods. Tell us about why it's so important.
So the Preserving Black Legacy Fellowship is an intergenerational cohort of 7 Black Detroiters who are telling the story of their neighborhood. So similar to what we do with Black Bottom Paradise Valley, we're teaching people how to be able to document their story so that, again, it's something that they're going to create a digital exhibit about their neighborhood, but they're also going to do oral histories and things to preserve the stories of of what's going on around them. What happened to Black Bottom and Paradise Valley can happen to any Detroit neighborhood if you allow those stories to be forgotten. And so these folks are charged with telling the stories. So it's like we got some East Side, we got the Regent Park neighborhood, we have Franklin Roosevelt, we've got Cody Rouge, we've got the Detroit artist community, which is like taking over like the Midtown storytelling. So like right over here where we are, we've got 2 Brightmore projects because that's just how it happened. And I mean, it's not robust. Y'all don't come for us. We only could pick 7 people. Like, we want to be able to do this fellowship and get as many neighborhoods as possible. But it's a year-long fellowship. They're learning skills to be able to become archivists and be able to preserve work. And so it started back in 2019. We did a 6-week fellowship over the course of a summer with teeny boppers. So like high school, early young adult type people. And then we were like, what would happen if they had more time to be able to really lean into those skills? And so the festival is going to have a celebration this summer in August, mid-August, exact date to be determined. But mid-August is what we're going for, and we're going to have the Black Bottom Black Legacy Festival, and it's going to be just a celebration of storytellers, of storytelling in Detroit, and each of the fellows is going to be id to present their work.
And is this the first time you
This
guys?
is the first one. Yep.
Ooh, so let's talk about this festival a little bit. You know, where did this come from? Where'd the idea?
Oh, it was just like we wanted them to be able to have an opportunity to present their work. We all know summertime in Detroit is
a different place.
It's a different place.
It
is a different place, and you can't beat it. You can't compare it to anything else. And it was like, how else to celebrate this year-long thing? Like, we could have done like a panel discussion, and it would have been great. But Detroiters love a festival.
Yes.
We want to put our clothes on. We want to have photo opportunities because that is the moment. That is the story itself. Like, we are the archive, right? So like, we want people to come put their clothes on. We want them to come out and experience storytelling, but also maybe learn something. Like, I think that that's the part that I really enjoy is like, I'm not a trained archivist by education, but I am my family archivist. Mm-hmm. I'm the person who's paying out of my pocket to have the photos to take so that they can tell our family story in like real time and not from somebody's phone. Those are great. These phones take amazing photos. However, having somebody responsible for taking those photos and like making sure that you're capturing these moments so that you can be in the moment. So it's like, and so like, how are we approaching like storytelling and conversation? How are we, so we're going to be partnering. We're going to be telling storytelling through movement. We're going to be telling storytelling through, maybe there's going to be, some food-based things there. Maybe there's going to be, we're building it, so we don't know exactly, but we know that we want to have as much storytelling in different variations of it as possible so that everybody can like find a way for them to tap in and see themselves.
Sticking to where we are now, what makes the fellowship unique compared to other history or storytelling programs that are out right now?
I think that what makes it unique is that we're giving them tools. Like, so each of the fellows, one of the things that I feel like is really special about this particular cohort is that one of the main reasons why they were selected and chosen is because they all had community that they wanted to take this work back to so that they can teach them to be like, this. And so we're like, we told them during the interview process is that we don't want this to be a one-off. We don't want this to be the only opportunity that you engage with BBA. Yeah. We want you to come back. So each of the fellows has a mentor that they're paired with. And so we want maybe next year for some of the fellows to be mentors. So you could just keep building that skill set. And so I think that that's one of the biggest differences is that once the fellowship ends, our relationship isn't going to end with them. It's going to like, how can we continue to help you? How can we continue to nurture you, be in community with you? Do you want to do a workshop? Do you want to offer your skills to somebody else that you like, so everybody can like keep pulling the next person up?
There's no one right way of doing it. So why is oral history telling such an important tool when we talk about preserving these neighborhood stories? I mean, that's what your whole. Oftentimes, there are people who will say like it's in the past. We don't want to hear about it.
For as I mean, all of our culture, all of our history is from storytelling. It is just something that is ingrained in us. It is something that like keeps the power of something going. You wouldn't know about a Harriet Tubman or somebody else unless somebody told the story. I think that even if you're like reading about them like reading about it, somebody had to tell that story in order for it to be, in order for it to be. And so like keeping the power of our voice, keeping the culture and the memory alive is like, it's just something that you should do. I sometimes when my grandmother is talking, I just record her, just to be able to have those memories and those things of like, you hear a lot of people talk about they kept voicemails and things like that. And so like, it's just, those are things like storytelling is everything for us because it's how, for memories that didn't get to come along or memories that didn't get to get put into a book, those are how you're able to keep, who you are.
Listening to you now, I just go back to, if no one's going to be the historian in your family, someone got to step up to do it or that history is going to be lost. How do you translate that to people, especially being your family historian? How do you translate that? Someone has to do it in the family or that's going to be lost.
I am very fortunate that my grandmother actually started the family reunions in our family. She was inspired by Roots by Alex Haley. And so she was like, I need to do this for my family and to be able to have these things. And so actually this summer in August, we're having our like 25th family reunion. And it's because my grandmother did the research and things like that. And so it's like I am the family historian because my grandmother was a family historian and she's 95 years old and she is still living. And so she's the inspiration for me to continue to tell these stories and do this work because of her work and her legacy of getting our family's history. I have a cousin who was able to trace our family tree into 3 generations into slavery. And like it would take for somebody to give like some very dedicated time, but we can go to North Carolina and take it further if we want to because of my grandmother's legacy of like being curious. And so it's just being curious, being a little nosy, getting in people's business. You got to be unafraid to get told no, and you got to be up in people's business, which is not necessarily the favorite part of our people. But if you're able to get trusted and to get in there with people, especially with their elders. So like, I think that it's really just, I translate it by sharing what I know, again, because I'm not a trained archivist. And so I think that that's what is really most exciting about, to me, is like, I often start a lot of my talks asking people, how many archivists do we have in the room? And maybe a few people will raise their hand. But then my next question is, how many of you have an Instagram? That's an archive. That is your way of telling your story. You're preserving your story.
The music you're hearing is a part of the interactive exhibition experience.
I essentially grew up there between, I'll say, around the ages of 5 to maybe 14 or 15. I grew up in Black Bottom.
Lex Draper Garcia Bay is the co-executive director of Black Bottom Archives. The closing ceremony for From the Bottom Up, that's the exhibition at the Detroit Historical Society. It does end April 5th with the ceremony happening April 4th. We'll be right back.